The real estate biz is drastically changing, and modern real estate success can't be learned in some old course manual. This is everything they never told you about real estate, where industry leaders expose secrets to success, contemporary lead generation, and how to dominate social media. All moderated by your host, the real estate goat and queen of social media, Carrie Soave.
Welcome. I am your host, Carrie, and I am joined by a very special guest today. He is Rob Golfi. He's the CEO and owner of the Golfi team. I'm sure everybody has heard of the Golfi team. He is the agent with his arms out in the air on every billboard, every bus that you ever pass. Hi, Rob. It's so nice to have you here today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Carrie. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So the name of the podcast is Everything They Never Told You About Real Estate. So let's dive right in. What would you say is the number one thing that nobody ever told you about this industry before you became an agent? Way back, way back.
Everybody thinks this business is easy, and it is not. You got to work. We as realtors in the public eye on social media and all our marketing and everything, we make it look easy to the public. HGTV makes it look easy. All the, the shows it's so glamorous and everything. But once you're in the heart of it and you're in the trenches, boy, it's a rude awakening for sure when you get in this business.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. Like, when did you get into the industry? How many years ago was that?
It's actually just 25 years. And I remember when I started, the big thing was Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry's father, Mike Ferry, learning the scripts and everything. So I said, okay, I'm in. I'm going in. So I got licensed in October, and then I went to a Mike Ferry seminar. In it was in October, and I'm listening and say you got to read these scripts and this is how you do it. So I learned the scripts, and when I got back from that, I think I can't remember if it was a 1 day seminar or 2 day, I can't remember. And when I got back, I studied the scripts and I got on the phones and started calling, and basically I just went. Go and they would teach you if you want to do it with 2 headsets. I did it with 2 headsets, 2 phones. So I had the headsets, with the ear on one side and the mics both here facing this way. And then I would dial the one number, and while that's ringing, I'm gearing up the other phone and dialing that number except the last digit or 2. So if nobody picked up here, boom, I hit the last digit there and just kept going back and forth. So I can double my time in trying. Now that we have automatic dialers, so it just keeps going and going. But I was on the phones. I open houses on the phones. I had to hustle. I had a family and there was no other income. It was just me. So there was no choice to succeed. Basically, I was all in. And if that wasn't it, I would have been, I don't know, probably who knows what happened to me. But I had no choice but to work hard and start making a living. And you don't make money right away. Like, it takes 4 to 6 months, depending on how fast track you do it. So, and you've created debt during those 4 to 6 months. So you're trying to pay off debt at the same time as you're getting your first paychecks coming in. So, but you know what? This business, it depends the harder you work, the more you're going to do. And I was just talking to a young lady this past week, and she is an air traffic controller, and she wants to get into real estate. And I said, well, listen, quit your job when you get in. And she goes, oh, but I don't know. I said, listen, you are not going to know until you get fully into this business, whether you can, and I says, if you're fully in, you will succeed. You have no choice. You have no choice but to succeed. But if you have a crutch where you got something to go back on, you will not do as well as that you should do.
Yeah.
So you got to go all in.
Now, okay, you started in a totally different time for real estate. Things were done so differently. I can't even begin. As you said, phone calls, cold calling. I'm sure you did door knocking. what do you think? Because everything's high tech now. So did you have problems adjusting yourself, or was it easy for you? What do you think about the progression of technology in real estate?
I wasn't with the progression when so when I first started, I had a flip phone, I had a pager, and I had a Palm Pilot. So basically, that's all in one now. That was the BlackBerry. What came after that was the BlackBerry. I think the Palm Pilot was made by BlackBerry. I think, I'm not sure, but that was the three things. Basically, you had them all around your belt. You look like you know, like you were a superhero with all these little gadgets on your belt. So, but and you would get pages. You go there. The difference now and then is that. Would it be easier? Is it easier? I think it was easier then than it is now. And even though there's so much more, but the transition for me was, as technology changed, I adapted and went along with it. And I remember people that were 25 years older than me, and as times were changing, they were struggling. So I remember a lot of agents, probably 15 years ago, maybe more, they were in their 60s and they couldn't adapt to the new changes, and they slowly faded away. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't do the social media as things were changing. It was changing too fast for them. And some of them are still lingering around, and they have either their a colleague or their kids operating the business for them, doing, with clients of theirs from way back. But it is tough. And the only thing, the difference between myself and them is I hire smart people to work for me to make sure that I can adjust along with them. But here's the problem. Now I have people doing it for me. Now, if I'm left out alone on the island, I'm in big trouble because I don't know how to do all these things. So it's like, so I always have to have somebody doing it for me. I got to make sure that I do have the resource for someone to take care of me and doing all those social media things and all this stuff that's done online and everything else. So it's, the key thing is always hiring good people and go with the transition. Don't fight it, work with it, and go with it. Look at these millennials and Gen X. These guys, I mean, they're killing it, like out the gate. Some of them, like, just as soon as they get in business, depends how good they are.
Yeah. Now, you said that things probably were easier back then than they are now. And I would think that would be true, because when you think about the prospecting in terms of door knocking and cold calling, the general public didn't have access online back then. So they'd be more welcoming. Right. I would think, I don't know, because I didn't work back then, but I feel like they would be more welcoming to people calling them or knocking on their door, giving them information about the market, because they couldn't get it anywhere else unless they had an actual conversation with an agent. Now everything's so accessible. There's so many freaking agents, and these agents are struggling with the door knocking and the cold calling because it's not as easy as it used to be, right?
Oh, absolutely. Back when I started, everybody answered their door. They're not like looking out the front window. They're not looking, who is this guy? What's going on? They were happy to answer the door. They're like, hey, we got company. It's like, but now, even when somebody rings my doorbell, I'm looking at my ring phone and I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know. What's he, if I don't know him, I'm not going to answer the door. Like, I mean, it's funny how we came so antisocial when people come to our house. Like, you know what it is? We're so trained that if somebody's coming to our house, they call us. Hey, listen, I'm around the corner. I'm going to come to your house. Yeah. Nobody really just knocks on your door anymore out of the blue. It's just like anybody you personally know that is a friend or a family will not just surprise visit you. They'll say, hey, Dave, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm going to come by. Okay, no problem. And then when the doorbell rings, you know it's him. But now when the doorbell rings and and there's no warning of that, you know what? You're thinking twice. And you know what? It's just people, we've gotten a totally different mentality on answering the door. And same thing even with the phone. A lot of people don't answer the phone if they don't recognize it. I make sure my call display name is on the phone. I like when I'm with Rogers, I say, hey, listen, make sure my name shows up on there because I don't want to be calling everybody. And one time there was something happened to my phone and my name wasn't showing up. And I found out, wait a minute, these guys are calling me. People are calling me to call them back. I'm calling them back. They're not answering the phone. And then I find out I didn't have the call. They couldn't see my name on the phone, so they weren't answering the phone. So you've got to have your name on the phone. And these unknown numbers that show up, I mean, nobody really answers those phones that much. You know, like as soon as that phone rings, you look at it. What do I do? Like it's ringing number one. You're thinking number two, number three. Screw it. You know, if it's important, they'll leave a message. But nobody answers any phone unless there's a name on there. So if you don't have you don't have your name on your phone, I'm
definitely guilty of that. You talked about hiring, making sure you hire good people. Okay, this is something that I personally have struggled with. I used to have a team. I no longer have one. I'm doing more coaching than production now. But when I had my team, I had an ISA, but he was my ex-fiance and he was family. Like we shared custody of our dog and he was a corporate, like he was like a head of corporate sales and was just doing this for me because like I'm family and it went so well. But when it comes to hiring somebody I don't want, I'm like, I'm so afraid to, because it's like, nobody gives a shit about my business, you know? Nobody cares about my business like me. And I'm so spoiled from having him for so many years that I struggle with it. So how do you, like, what are your experiences in hiring?
You got to hire well, take your time. You got to pay well. I think that's the only way you're going to get good people. And that's how you weed the bad ones out, because if somebody really wants a job and it's a good paying job, they're going to work hard. Now, if they think they can get away with, they think they just can fly by and get away with not doing the calls or not doing their job, it'll catch up to them. That's when you got to fire fast. And, but when you're paying well, I think like, it's like you have to hire 5 people to find two or 3 good ones. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. You can't just hire one. So when we hire, especially like if it's an inside sales, we'll hire 3 of them. And we know maybe 1 or 2 is not going to work out, but we want to find out which ones, because sometimes people interview well, and but they're terrible. They're terrible at working, and vice versa. Some people don't interview that well. They're shy and this and that, but when they're working, they're animals. They're savages. They're awesome. So it's always good to hire. And that's the cost of doing business. You got to weed out the ones, and it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, and you just got to hire 5 and fire 3 after that. And that's how you find out which ones.
I really like that, because when you think about it, they're all starting together, and there's like an element of competition as well, right? Which kind of like makes them perform, which I think is
absolutely
really good.
Because if one person's making this many touches a day and the other one isn't, say, hey, okay, wait a minute, like why aren't you doing as much as this guy? What are you doing? Are you taking too many smoke breaks? What's going on? So and that's how you find out. That's how you find out what's going on.
Yeah. How many agents do you have on your team right now?
So we're right around 70 agents. Yeah, so during the pandemic, we ended up hiring a lot of new agents, and a lot, some of them, it's hard to find out. Again, it's like hire 5, get rid of 3. So we eliminated ones that were not eager to work, and right now, we are hiring actually talented agents that have experience in the business, that have been in business for 2 or more years. And we've got agents on our team now, they've been 10 years in the business, 5 years in the business. And so it's nice to get that talent now. Because, I mean, and we heard this even at the Buzz conference that anybody could have sold a house in the last bunch of years. It's just, the market was good, but right now you need to work at it. You gotta hustle. You gotta make the phone calls. You gotta follow up. You gotta be in touch, and that's how you're going to earn this business. The one thing we can offer is we can offer the brand. This business is tough as it is, but it's a little easier when you're with us on our team because we have a little bit of a brand out there that people recognize. So.
Yeah, absolutely. People recognize it. Everybody recognizes it. My husband will call me and be like, fucking Rob Golfi. I just saw him 5 times. I've only been on the road for 20 minutes, Carrie.
That's it. That's it. If you don't like me, man, you're really going to hate me. That's it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what about, you're saying that you're looking for agents that have been in the business for at least 2 years. It must be hard to find ones that actually have the drive because, as I said, I coach. I come across so many agents that have the experience, can do the deals, but they don't want to do the freaking work, right? And how do you, like, I'm like, maybe you should go on a team, but then at the same time, I'm like, maybe a team wouldn't be good for you because they're going to force you to do everything you don't want to do for your own business. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, like, it's for new agents, I think, going to a team if they're willing to hire you and train you. And we've got some great talent from new agents that we hired that are doing phenomenal business. Now, and those guys there, I'll tell you, the new agents, when they come on our team, I mean, the way I describe it, we're like the farm team. You come to us, right? Mm-hmm. And you learn the business and you learn it fast. You learn with us in 2 to 3 years, most people don't learn in 10, 15 years. And so because we talk about every situation and negotiations and everything. So everybody learns from that experience on our team. Now, when you leave, you don't leave to go to another team from us. If you do that, it's either, there was maybe a strain in the relationship or another team has made a lot of promises and, that they offering and don't deliver after they leave. And we've had a lot of people that have left us, went to other teams and regretted it. And we have the process that once you leave, you don't come back. We don't hire you back because it's the dynamics never are the same. So we did have people leave and, almost begging to come back. And we said, sorry, you know what? You believed that guy's story and guess what? It didn't come through. But now the agent that is 2 to 5 years, again, he's going to learn a lot more. We want you to learn from us and then go to the NHL. Basically, go to the pro team. So if you leave us, you should be going on your own. We want you to go on your own. We don't you should not be leaving to go to another team. If you leave us, go on your own. We have a party for you. We celebrate. We thank you for your service and go on your own. And we appreciate that. And but you should not be leaving us to go to another team. Because we offer everything. I can't see what we do not do for you that another team can do because we have so much to offer that it's, sometimes maybe people didn't like some of the people on their team. Who knows? It depends the dynamics, but our culture is really good on our team. And and that's the most important thing that we want.
You have a good reputation. You have the reputation of having a really systemized and structured business. There's too many teams out there right now that are just like pop-up makeshift teams. Some agent who's doing $150,000 a year thinks that he wants to build a team. And it's like, fuck, you don't even have any systems in your own business. And then that's why you have all these agents that are like, oh, he's making so many promises. I'm going to go over here. And they end up team hopping because they're going through a lot of these bullshit teams that really don't offer anything. And so there's too many of those.
They don't have systems in place. Yeah, there's a lot. They don't have systems in place or anything. And I get it. I get why they want to start a team because you know why? They're competing. There is a lot of teams out there. There is a lot of teams and people, the consumer are looking for teams to sell their house. I mean, I'm not saying anything negative about individual agents that are doing it on their own. They're doing fantastic. There's a lot of them. But I'm going to tell you, the training, the conditioning that the consumer's getting out there is that the teams have everything. So now, if I was an individual agent starting out going there, I would put down team at the end of my name, just because so like, at least you could say if you don't have a team, maybe you're going to get a team down the road or whatever. You have the team at your office, whatever it is, but you're going to need to have team or group or associates or whatever on your name in the future. And I think that's going to be in 5 years or less, like, because that's what the consumer is going to be looking for. They're going to look for, they want somebody that has systems, that has a team that can take care of them and do everything. And an individual agent, we still offer personalized service. People think that individual teams don't offer it. Each agent, one of us, are working with somebody and they're offering that individual personalized service. Now, teams, what they have is they have the power of getting you more exposure, getting you more stuff for your sale of your property, or buying, because they have access to more services and things. But I think if you're an individual agent, just put down, hey, my name is Jane Smith, team, you know what I mean? And just put that on your business card, and that could make the difference of maybe an extra 2 to 5 deals a year. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah. So now you're going to see way more teams out there.
Everybody.
Little piece of advice. Yeah. Put team at the end of your name. That's it.
Okay. So what do you see from all the agents on your team? Because you have so many. What do you see the biggest struggles that they're going through right now in today's market? Is it the technology? Is it social media? Is it conversion? Is it, I don't know. Tell me.
You know what it is? It is conversion. The biggest struggle is they're not used to following up as much as they should. They're, you know what I mean? Like it's been easy for them, and now they really have to work. Everybody has to work in this business, no matter who you are, what team you are, or whatever. You got to hustle and you got to work it. It's a little easier with us. I'm not going to deny it, than anybody else because of the brand, but you still got to hustle it. You know what? Our brand gets us to the kitchen table. Now it's up to them to do their presentation and win that client and become personalized and with that client. Like we get to the kitchen table, but now, you know, and a lot of times we don't get it. Like for instance, when we go to the kitchen table, the way I operate and a lot of the agents in our team do is that first I want to find out their motivation, right? What's their motivation? If I find out what their motivation is, okay, they want to move, they need to move. Okay, perfect. Now I tell them what I feel the value of the property is. And I said, and then I ask them, what number did you have floating around in your head? You know, let's say I say it's 900 and they say 1.1 or 1.2. And I say, you know what? I appreciate that, but what made you like, what did you see, or what comparable, or what gave you the idea that it's worth 1.2? And it's hard for them to come up with it because, well, that house was listed for that. No. I need to know sales. I don't need to know houses for sale, because there's a lot of houses for sale that didn't sell in the past 12 months. Yeah. And I said, listen, I'll try that number for you. I says, I have no problem working for you, but I'm just letting you know, this is the number where I think you need to be to get it sold. So and I explain to them, like, if an offer comes in that number or close to it, I think you got to seriously look at it. We'll try to negotiate a higher number, but that's probably where it's going to end up at. So I'm upfront with everything. I'm transparent and everything. Yeah. Do I get all of them? No, because I show them all the service. I show them everything that we do and all the marketing and everything that we can do to get their house the biggest exposure, the biggest reach. And another guy comes in and say, hey, yeah, 1.2, no problem. I don't know why Rob doesn't think it's not worth that much, but yeah. And meanwhile, the guy's got no credentials, nothing, and he gets it listed, and then it sits for 6 months. Oh. So then what happens is that seller will say, hey, listen, you took it for that much. I'm not dropping a price because you said you could sell it for that much. I tell them I'll put it for that much, but I don't know if the market's going to accept that number, but here's the number. Like I just did one. It was in East Hamilton. We listed it at 1.2, and I told him, I said, it's probably about $1 million. I think it's under $1 million. And 7 days, 0 showings. I said, we got to drop it 200,000. And boom, we did it. We dropped it 200,000 because he knew that's what we're going to do. And then next week, we're probably going to drop it down another 100,000, and that's where the number is going to be. It's going to sell at that number. And now this guy bought this place for $1 million in the first quarter of 2022, put another 250 to 300,000 in renovations. So this guy's losing a lot of money on this, but he's got his money all tied up in there. He wants to do flips. He wants to do flips and everything. So he needs that money to go on to the next project. So even though he knows he's going to take a loss, and a lot of investors took losses, especially if they bought in the first quarter of last year and now they're trying to flip, they're going to take the loss. They have to accept it. That's the cost of doing business. You can't win every single deal that you do. So
yeah, but as the real estate professional, that's where it comes in on us to show them, okay, how much you make per flip. This is how many you could do in the next couple of years. You're taking this much of a loss over here, but look how much you have to gain, right? So, absolutely. Oh my God, I have a story for you. So these agents it's getting desperate right now for a lot of agents. Let's say that, you know, a lot of agents are willing to take way overpriced listings, lie to their clients. Let's talk about the agents that are dropping their commission. So I had this listing appointment. I went there, had it in the bag. Okay, at 5%, because
oh wow, good for you.
That's how I fucking operate. Unless it's a friend. No, listen, if it's a friend or it's a repeat client, I'll do down to 4. But like honestly, what I'm experiencing is the Toronto agents coming in, and if I'm cooperating at 2, they're saying I'm not showing this without 2.5. So what I do is I tell the clients I do give a discount to at 4. I'm like, we have an agent come in that wants 2.5 and they're giving us a good number, you're fucking paying it. You know what I mean? And I make sure that they know that. But okay, so I leave there, I get everything ready, send the paperwork over. She calls me and she's like, well, my boyfriend's got a friend who wants to list it for 3.5. And I'm like, oh, see ya.
I've been there.
Sorry, I'm not doing it. Do you want a professional or do you want, you know, some guy from, I think he was from like north of Toronto, or I'm like, are you serious right now? Your listing's in Caledonia, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? So I did have to drop it down a little bit from 5%, but there was
to keep it.
I was going 3.5 and
no. And
she made the right decision. No. Like she watches my social media. She knows the kind of marketing I do and she knows my reach. And she was like, fuck it. Like I'll pay more, you know? But it all doesn't feel like that.
I'll tell you. So there was a survey done on Fair Square, and Fair Square did a survey, and they were trying to figure out why people weren't signing up with them as much as they should have. And you know what it turned out? They thought the commission was too good to be true. The low commission was too good to be true. So people recognize that the discounted rate is like, I don't know, like there's got to be something I'm missing. And that's what people felt. So, and that's why they like Fair Square, they had a lot of expired listings. A lot of them didn't sell. They ended up going to realtors after and selling them. They needed agents to sell these properties. They needed agents to sell these properties for them to continue if they were going to make it. Because when they first started as COM-free, they really did not offer any money to the cooperating agent. As time went on, they started offering money, and then Purple Bricks bought them. They offered a little more, and then after when they hit Fair Square, they were offering I think 2% to the agent, and they were charging I think $4,000 on the other end. So it was almost the full commission. So Fair Square didn't even at the end of it didn't even offer anything, and you know they just basically put it on MLS. And see you later. And then and if you had somebody to negotiate for your house, it was a different person every night. So if the deal was going on for 2-3 nights, there was always a different person that was negotiating for you on your behalf. There wasn't the same agent doing it for you. You know, it's just. And hey, there you go. That just proved that they closed up. It didn't work out. Now they're gone. They're gone.
But do you remember the sweet spot with COM-free? So the sweet spot is those 2 years where agents would not show the property because they were not cooperating. However, So there was no showings on the property, but they were starting to realize that they had to cooperate. So whenever I bought a property or my family bought a property, I'm like, we're only looking at COM-free right now because they're empty. They're overpriced. They're empty because agents aren't showing them. But the owners are getting to the point where they're like, we'll give you 2.5. We'll give you 3%. We don't care. Right. So that we're getting good deals.
Oh, for sure. You know what the thing is, when these people that sold with COM-free, Purple Bricks, or Fair Square during the boom time when the markets were super hot, they left so much money on the table, those guys, because they didn't know how to organize and hold offers and all that kind of stuff. They have no idea. They were worried about the commission. They should have been worried more about the freaking sale price of their house. And you know what? And like, they were so misinformed. You know what? Like, people were so worried about the like saving the pennies that they didn't worry about the dollars. Wouldn't you want $50,000 to $100,000 more for your house, but you're worried about saving about $5,000 off the commission? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I saw so many houses. I'll tell you, the people that bought from COM-free, Purple Bricks, or Fair Square during the boom times, like 2016, 17, part of
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And then in 2021 and 2020, all those guys that bought, sold their house through there. Hey, some of them won't admit it, but I'll tell you something. When they saw their neighbor's house sell for $50,000 to $100,000 more, and they're like, and within a week after, are you kidding me? I would be upset. I'd be like, what did I do? I really messed that one up. And you know, like, so, like, it's just misinformed people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, the public is, you know, is got all this information, positive, negative, and good and bad. And it's just, it's tough for them to see what to believe or what not to believe, you know?
Yeah. You get what you pay for at the end of the day. I'm a firm believer in any industry. You get what you pay for. If you want to maximize your results, you're going to have to pay a full professional. And that's all there is to it.
And the thing is, we work for nothing. We work for nothing. It's not like they're paying us up front. If we don't get the number that they need to get sold, then it didn't cost them anything. So why not go with somebody that is going to be great at what they do and get you top dollar, and at the end of it, when you're signing on a dotted line, like, you don't have to sign it. Like, we don't get paid unless we sell the house. So we literally work for free until they say yes. And so I don't know why they would want to go elsewhere when they can get top dollar. Like, going to COM-free, they had to, I think a lot of them had to pay up. They had to pay first. Paid $900 or something like that to get a sign, maybe some feature sheets, and I'm not sure what else they got for $900. But nobody gave a crap. Nobody gave a shit about the listing after that. COM-free got their money, whether they sell it or not. They got paid. They already got paid. Us guys that are out there working hard and busting our asses off, we're hustling, and we don't get paid unless we make our client happy. And but they don't see that when you're sitting there at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so emotional for people, right? It's the residential real estate is so emotional. I feel like, because I do some commercial as well, I feel like residential is difficult because you're managing emotions, and commercial is the exact opposite, but it's also difficult, maybe even more difficult, because it's purely about numbers. Right? So it's,
I know.
They all have their challenges. What do you think? Actually, I got a couple questions. What do you think about Trezza and the changes that are coming? I talked to Tim Hudak yesterday at the conference, and he's going to come on here and go through the whole thing.
Trezza.
Yeah.
I think I read it. Trezza is the...
So that's Reba is going to be called Trezza now. So it's like the open bidding, the designated. Like, one of my agents called me and she said...
Yes, the open bidding. I think it's just going to be something that comes in and it's going to be forgotten about. I still think people... now, the open bid, I don't think we can... we have to have permission from the client to actually show the actual bid that's happening. Am I correct?
Yeah. So
I don't even think it's in Ontario. I don't know if it's
coming. It's coming. It was supposed to start in April, but they're behind. So we're looking past the summer. But what's going to happen is it's going to be the client's choice, the open bidding or closed bidding, how much information they want shared, whether it's just price, whether it's just conditions. Like, it's going to be all up to the client. I think it'll be fun. I want to do
I want to do one. I have a property that it's currently vacant right now, and I may end up doing something like that with that and see what the response is as a test market. But you know what? As a buyer, and if I'm submitting an offer, there's no other offers. I think I would put something in my offer saying, "Listen, I'm submitting an offer. I'm not, I'd like you to sign an NDA indicating that this is between you and I don't want the public to know my price or my conditions that I'm offering, what clauses I have in there, because as a buyer, the next guy can come in and offer $1,000 more and bump that guy, and it just keeps going up. And that's what the government either wants or doesn't want. I don't know. But if there's only one offer on it, I don't think it should be disclosed. Now, you want to try to generate another offer as representing a seller, as the agent representing a seller, but as a buyer agent, and as a buyer, I say, hey, I'm going to submit an offer, but I don't want it. I don't want to disclose my price to the public. I think you have to make a decision whether you like it or not, or work with it.
Yeah.
As a seller, it's good to have it, because then here's the benefit of that. So let's say you've got a listing that's listed at $1 million, but it's really worth $850,000. So an offer comes in, it's an open bid, and it comes in at $850,000. Another guy's going, you know what? I would pay $860 for that, or $885 or whatever. So another guy may come in and submit that, right?
Yeah.
So that will enhance another offer to come in, but
and
because everybody knows it's not worth $1 million.
Yeah. So you're saying
that's right, and everybody knows. They say, hey, it would actually draw more people. So it may bring in another offer that it may get a little more than the $850 of the value that it is. So one guy comes in at $850, another guy comes at $875. It sells for $880. Really, the value was at $850. It went into competition, but if it's at a million, most people aren't going to put an offer in. But then if they see one guy, then the next guy may come in and say, hey, we're going to work under the 900,000 mark. I'm willing to work with that, but I'm not going to go over that number. So that could help the overpriced listings, depending on the seller. But I think that'll draw more people to come in and submit an offer and say, I'm willing to pay that much. If that guy's willing to go in that much, I'll pay a little more than him, and I'll take that. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell which direction that the open offer system is going to go. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, but on the other end, because I've had a couple of listings that have gone into multiple offers in the last couple of weeks, and it's only 3 or 4 offers, and it's only a difference. The highest offer was 10,000 more than the next highest. So that would prevent that extra 10, because so it's a little sketchy, right? It could be good in certain situations, and it could be bad for sellers in certain situations. And buyers, okay, we all have those buyers when there's a bidding war, they just go into a freaking frenzy. Imagine as a buying agent trying to manage your out of control buyer from keeping to raise his
oh my God.
bid. And we know these ones too. And it's so emotional, and they don't really listen to it. Or, the ones where they come back, they lost, and they were like, we'll go back in and tell them I'll give them more. And it's
too late. But what about those deals that sold? The spread between the first offer and the second offer is 150, 200,000. There's a lot of those that happened, eh? You know what I mean? I feel sorry for those guys that jumped in the gun on that one. And you know what? And I'll tell you, I had a rule how I used to negotiate for clients, even myself, when I was putting offers in. I used to add $5,000 to every offer that was submitted. So, okay,
me too.
There's 10
Until
offers.
2021.
So 10 offers. Yeah. So I go 50,000. Okay. So then I'm going to add a little more on top of that. I'm going to add, okay, maybe I'll go 65,000, instead of 50,000. And back before the GTA buyers coming this way, I went by that. And I would win all the time.
Yeah. Now
these GTA buyers went cuckoo and they freaking said, okay, I'm going 100 and over ask and I'm going 150. Right. That kind of threw that formula out the window. And they just kind of messed up the whole market. They basically came down into the Hamilton, Niagara region and Brantford and probably Barrie, Ontario and Kitchener, like all the way, everywhere surrounding the GTA. And they just threw their money down like there was no end to money just kept growing on trees. That's it. And they just threw their money and crazy.
Rob, that's the perfect example of out-of-town agents coming into an area that they don't freaking know and they aren't familiar with the market and allowing that to happen. Because, in the GTA, when the bidding wars were happening, before they got really bad here, they were going $200,000, $300,000 over asking. So now we've got GTA agents coming down with their buyers, and they don't need to do it, but they're bidding the same way in a different market. And that essentially was, I think, one of the something that aided the frenzy.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the great thing about dealing with these Toronto agents coming into our markets was they finally found a house for their client. And so when you're negotiating with them, it's like, here, this is our final price, Sparky. Listen, either take it or keep driving down the Queen Elizabeth's Way for the next 5 days and try to find them something else. And you know what? Those agents, they just said, oh boy, they took it. They pushed their clients to take these counter offers back and say, listen, this is it. Because they didn't want the deal to fall apart because they didn't want to come back down and start driving them and showing them properties anymore. So the consumer, I can't believe the consumer doesn't realize that. And so they get sucked into these buyer agreements. A Toronto agent is assigning their clients to a buyer agreement to sell them a house in Niagara Falls. Can you imagine driving all the way to Niagara Falls from Toronto to show somebody a house? I mean, it could be just one house, a full day event, depending on traffic, depending on weather, depending on everything else. And I'm just like, hey, buddy, I got you. You have to listen. You want this house for your client? Yeah. You want to, if you're going to have to pay our price. You know what I mean? Like we had them,
Rob,
and if most agents were good.
Yeah, Rob, listen to this, okay? So the agents that are demanding 2.5% from Toronto, when they're calling me, they're saying, well, I have to drive all the way there. Are they not listening to themselves? That's telling me that you have no business. How dare you come and demand a certain amount of dollar amount from me on cooperating commission? It sounds to me like you're desperate to spend, 2 hours in a car on a Saturday afternoon. No. You know what I mean? Who are you kidding at this point?
No kidding. And a lot of these realtors now, I find that especially in the Mississauga area, is that they're working. So they offer 2.5% because that's what the commission is to the cooperating broker in Mississauga and Toronto, but 2.5 mostly in Mississauga. So what they're doing is they're listing houses at 2.5% commission total. So they're paying the cooperating broker. Yeah, I'm telling you. And so, but no. So they're doing it for 2.5%. That's as long as they buy a house through them. So they're going to make the money on the buying end. I'm like, okay, so now think about this. Really? You got a guy that is the full commission's 2.5%. So he's going to do zero marketing, put a for sale sign on the front lawn, put a lockbox on the door, and pray and wait that somebody brings an offer to him and pay the 2.5. He's got zero. He's got no money coming in. And then he's got to show him a house, find him a house, and that's where he's going to get paid. Is that how they're going to get their business? I don't know. So, and we get people coming to us and say, hey, they do that there. I says, go ahead, do it. I says, good luck with your service. I says, good luck on them negotiating. You think they care about how much you get for your house? They're going to push you to take the best, the first offer that comes in, and they're not going to work hard for you. You know what? They don't see that. They don't see it. And this is the biggest investment of their life. And they're just letting shoemakers deal with it. It's frustrating. And you know what? In BC, they don't allow part-time agents. They should do that here. They should do that here. Eliminate 40%, 50% of the agents off the board. Boom. I'll pay a little more money for my fees for that, but get rid of them. Get rid of them because they're making the industry bad.
Yeah.
You know?
What about Airbnb with all these new laws coming in, the new restrictions? I personally was thinking about Airbnb being my primary residence, so I did a little digging into it at the city. It sounds a lot worse than it is. Like the girl that I spoke to at the city is like, oh, you're fine as long as your driver's license is there, and we're just going to give you a license, and that's not even going to come into effect for months from now. And it was lovely, right? But it's got everybody kind of panicked. All these corps. I have a couple clients that, you know, have a group of Airbnbs under the corp, and they're like, sell everything and move me to Kitchener, you know. So that's what they want to do. I know. You know what? I've always said this, and I'll say it again. When you're buying an investment property, buy it based on what income you can get for a long-term tenant. Now, if you want to Airbnb it, that's fine. Do it. But don't solely go by the Airbnb rental income, the potential that you can make, because they change laws all the time and they'll put you out of business. And look what's happening. So people that bought properties and now they may say, okay, you know what? I don't want the hassles of this Airbnb anymore with the city or anything like that. I'm going to rent the house out for $2,000 a month or or $3,000 a month. And yeah, they were probably getting $5,000-$6,000 a month through Airbnb, but now that those days are going to be gone. So if they can rent it out and everything covers as a long-term rental, they're fine. They're fine. And I always said, if you're going to buy a property for Airbnb, make sure that the long-term rental income, the potential income that you can get, can cover that. And if you got that, you are solid. And look what happened. I mean, governments change and municipality change laws all the time. And you know what? And I don't know where they're getting squeezed from. The hotel industry, it's hard to tell, but it was a good concept. The LTV,
but it'll always be there. That's it, and it'll always be there. It'll always be there. And you know what? And it did eliminate a lot of tenants, and people don't want the hassles of these long-term tenants not paying their rent, right? So they say, hey, let's go Airbnb way. Like, you know what I mean? If the landlord-tenant board was a little bit better in dealing with situations, then you know what? Maybe people will get in the business of buying a rental property and renting it out for long term. But you know what? When a guy can get away with not paying rent for 6 months to a year, you think people want to get involved with that? Like, yeah, like it's insane, and I can't believe the government is even allowing that to happen to people. Yeah. But they're okay with people not paying the rent. But you know what? That's stealing, and they're letting them steal.
That. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I did a whole.
I like the old days.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The old days, you just go up to the old days when you were collecting. They didn't have the rent. You grab them by the shirt and say, "Hey, pay it." Now it's anyway. Those days are gone. Those days are gone.
Right. Depending on the tenant. No.
Yeah.
I have very strong feelings about our government's shortcomings to protect the small landlord and the LTV broken system. I have very strong feelings about it. I am a landlord myself. It is fucking awful. And yeah, hopefully something can be done at some point. It's just, you know, I believe, Rob, that in our country, housing should be a human right. I do agree with that 100%. However, it should not fall on the backs of the small landlords with their investment properties that are invested in for retirement. It should, you know, the government needs to step up and provide more housing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, no, and the small landlord's getting beat up. And sometimes the guy wants to start first time landlord and he has the worst experience that anybody could ever have. And he just happens to be the unlucky one. And he's dealing with it. I have my son, he bought his first investment property and he had a bad tenant. And it was about, I think, 4 to 6 months. It was a tough one. Like, yes, he is lucky. And, but I'll tell you, like, but that was his first experience and his first investment property that he purchased, and his first experience with a tenant, that gave first and last month's rent and then didn't want to pay the rest. And then the mother moves in and then the daughter moves out. And it was just a disaster. And sometimes, you know what? These people, karma always is a bitch. You know what I mean? They'll get theirs eventually. And you know what? They're going to cross the wrong person. And when they cross that wrong person, and that's when that's when the payback happens. But it's not going to happen for my son or me, but somebody else they're going to cross the wrong person. And they deserve it, whatever happens, if it's in a bad way, because they treated a lot of other people badly.
Yeah. And Rob, like, let's be honest, because of the backup is now over a year, even to get a hearing. So you're looking at 1.5 years for a legal eviction. It's getting to the point where, as a landlord, if you have somebody not paying, you're looking at the $30,000 to $50,000 fine and possibly losing more money in 1.5 years on your mortgage and losing your house. We're going to see a lot more of illegal evictions because it makes sense money-wise. It makes more sense that way. Yeah, hit me with a $30,000 fine. If I don't get them out, I'm going to owe
it's cheaper to take the fine.
So fuck off.
Yeah, cheaper to take the fine than wait frickin' 18 months for the landlord tenant board to come to the hearing. And then if you have one little mistake made, like you've missed a comma on their name or something like that, this is not the right person. Like, really, give me a break. Come on. You know what I mean? That's so stupid. But it's just crazy. You know the best way how you get rid of these tenants? When they're out for dinner one night, you go in, you get a crew of 20 guys, and you go and move all their shit out, move another tenant in and say, sorry, I can't kick this tenant out. This is a new tenant I got here. Now let them take you to the landlord tenant board. That's the way you do it. Right. You gotta play. That's it. I just got this tenant. I thought you were moving out. I says, I didn't move you out. Like, you know what I mean? Just get the crew in and get them out. You can empty a house out in half an hour. That's it. And then let them call the police.
I wonder if that would work for me. I'm like a girl. I show up in like a little skirt and like a nice little blouse, and I'm like, I thought he left.
Yeah, exactly. Say, hey, these tenants, they moved in. I thought these guys said they were moving out, and I saw them moving their stuff out, so I told these tenants to move in. And I can't kick these guys out. I got a lease with them. So take me to the landlord tenant board 18 months later. So
you didn't know when a tenant is illegally evicted, they get a hearing within 2 to 3 months.
Oh, of course. Why not? Of course they get the privilege. Why not? Nothing, what else is new? You can't win. Eh? That's the way this world is made of. That's all.
So let's shift away from the bad part of our market to the good part of our market. Like, what are you seeing right now this week in Hamilton and Niagara?
So the market spiked in February, and I knew that was going to happen. I told everybody, get your house on the market for February, because it did spike. It started spiking. The activity started really happening the last week of January, and it happened right through the whole month of February. It was fantastic. And then part of March, it was good, but then it really quietened down after. And then so I printed out the numbers, and the average sale price did come down in March from February. Sales were up in March than it was in February, but the average price came down a bit. It's still higher than it was in January. And but I think we're going to see a lot of little spikes throughout the year. And it's hard to tell, but I like, Deloitte said that at the third quarter of this year, they think there's going to be a spike. I think we're going to get different spikes through, maybe every third month or every second month. You're going to see, but it's going to average out. It's not going to be like crazy like it was in 2021 and in the first quarter of 22. But it's going to move along, and people are just going to come into the market and leave the market. I think who's going to struggle here is people are not going to be looking for new homes because they don't want to wait a year for that home to be built, because they don't know what the interest rates are going to be in a year. They don't want to get involved in a contract with a builder, saying, hey, well, listen, if construction costs go up, you're going to have to pay the premium. You have to pay more for that, and say, hey, wait a minute, I want to buy this house today. I want the price today, but I want the interest rate within the next 120 days. So if you can't do it, then go on. I think builders today, they're going to have to build a lot of spec homes if they want them sold, because people I think are afraid to wait a year. A lot of condo people got stuck. Look at the one in Grimsby that people are just moving in starting April, where a lot of people can't afford them because the interest rates. Now, there was a lot of delay on that building because of COVID, because of strikes with unions and everything else. So they got put behind 2 years. Now, can you imagine if that closed? Those condos closed 2 years ago. Chances are that they would have had it at a better interest rate. You know what I mean? They got good prices, but a lot of them can't close. The interest rates are too high, and so a lot of them are trying to assign the sale.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think the market. But here's my prediction, and you can keep this. We are going to experience a huge bubble happening in 2026. It's going to start happening, and the peak is going to happen in the first quarter of 2027. And then we're going to have again the same. What happened in 2021 and 22 is going to happen in 2026 and 27. Identical market. So now is the time for the consumer to buy. Like I gotta tell you, like everybody's wages are up a lot higher than they were 2 years ago. Yes, consumer goods are up, gas is up, groceries are up, and everything. I get it, but we have a shortage of homes in this country. We have a shortage of labor in this country, and we have a shortage of everything. There's going to be such a huge demand that's going to happen. It's going to start in the next couple of years. And you're going to see everybody coming in, all these immigrants coming into this country. They start, and they're the best savers, immigrants, because they're not into, flashy stuff, consumer goods. All the immigrants just buy groceries, and they buy secondhand clothes, or they don't shop expensive. So they're the biggest and fastest savers, and they're buying houses, and they're going to be buying houses in the next couple years. And you're going to find there's going to be a huge boom happening in 2026 and the first quarter of 27, and then it'll readjust itself. And again, we're going to go through the same cycle again in the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, it's a cycle. It really is.
Prediction.
Isn't it, Rob?
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
It's like we just went through our real estate recession from April 1st of last year to December 31st. If you're going to buy a house, I'll tell you, December was the best time to buy a house last year. December, there was deals. I'm telling you, and now it's starting to climb back up a little bit.
What do you think about the buyers that really want? Okay, these buyers that want a deal, like they really want a deal. The buyers I'm talking about. But yet they chose not to buy at the bottom. And then as soon as everybody else comes back to the market, there they magically are. What the fuck is with that?
I know. They just, what they're doing? They're going with the mass. They got to go against it. So everybody was waiting and holding back in November, December. You know what? Those were the deals right there.
I know.
And I'm telling you, those were the deals. Like if you bought, I'm going to tell you something. If you bought a property in November, December of last year, you could have sold it in February this year, probably, and made $50,000 without even doing a single thing. You didn't have to do anything to the house. Just close on it February 1st, put it up for sale, back up for sale February 2nd, and you probably would have made $50 to $80 or $100,000 on, depending on your market, depending on the area, whether it's Burlington, Niagara, depending on the price point. If it was a $1.5 million house, you bought it for in November, December, chances are you could have sold it for $1.7 million in February of this year. And I'll tell you, the opportunities are out there all the time, and it's just taking advantage of it. And I always tell people, you want to sell your house, sell it at the first half of the year. If you want to buy a house, buy it in the second, especially in the last quarter of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What do you think about the market in Niagara? I primarily work in Hamilton. I do some in Niagara because I live here. I just moved here a year ago.
Yeah.
And I have friends and family here. So I do a very little bit, but I haven't done anything lower than Beamsville in the last month. So I'm curious to know what's happening in Niagara compared to Hamilton. Have they started picking up? Have they followed suit? Because we all know they follow, they're a little bit behind by a few months, but that's how the trend is, right? With Niagara compared to Hamilton.
They did have an increase in February, not as much as Hamilton did. But Niagara, I'm going to tell you, is going to it exploded in the last 5 to 7 years, and it's going to continuously go that way because a lot of people from the GTA are moving that way. A lot of money's going down that way. Niagara Falls, especially Niagara Falls. That's why, if you know the area well, like Chippewa is just outside of Niagara Falls, and that was kind of a remote area of Niagara Falls, right? But now it's becoming like the in place to buy. So a lot of out of towners are buying in there, and even the locals are buying in Chippewa now because it's becoming more of a bigger community there. But not only that, in Stevensville now. So now you go down the Queen Elizabeth Way, just past McLeod Road. I think the next 1 or 2 exits, it's before you hit Fort Erie. That's becoming an area of big, huge development, and so a lot of people are moving out that way, and it's just because of the affordability. But now, because of the affordability, that's why they're going there. But they're causing the market to inflate dramatically, and so it's becoming expensive in that area. And I don't know, like for a first time buyer, I mean, it is becoming tough. But there are opportunities out there. I was just looking at one in Niagara Falls. I think it was January, and it was a great deal. It was like $449,000. And I said, you know what? This is not a bad property. You know what? You can kind of put an apartment in the basement, rent it out, or just leave it as a single family or whatever, and then think about what you want to do with it later. Yeah. And so there's room there still on the odd property, but it is, the GTA is driving the prices up in Niagara. They are.
Yeah. So, I had a listing in Beamsville, and I had a Niagara agent because I tend to advertise my stuff on my social media a few days before it hits MLS, right? And I had a Niagara agent bring me an offer for $200,000 under, and I'm like, girl, I go, you understand there's bidding wars happening in Hamilton, and I'm priced pretty low. Like, I'm going to have multiples on this house. But you know what? That's how different, because Niagara hadn't picked up like Hamilton had yet.
That's right.
And I just said to her, I said, I like you. You're a great agent. I'm giving you the insider tip. It's coming for Niagara. Get your buyers ready. Yeah. Educate them that this shit isn't going to fly anymore. Right? That's
usually they're about a month or two behind. Niagara's usually a month or two behind. It's kind of the wave from Toronto. The wave. It's like a wave. It comes from Toronto. It goes into the Burlington, Hamilton, and then it rides right into the Niagara Peninsula. Absolutely.
So, Rob, one last question for you. For an agent that might be struggling in the market today, do you have any advice for them?
So, if you're an agent struggling in this market, get out and do open houses. That's the only best way you're going to get buyers right now. Build your business that way. I'll tell you, there's so many lead generating systems out there. You can get leads anywhere. It's just converting them. But I think if you're at an open house and they see you and they like you, they will work with you. And you know what? I have people that called me up after 10, 15, 20 years. I did open houses like 10, 20, 15 years ago. They call me up now and remember me doing the open house. So can you imagine if I did an open house every single weekend for 20 years straight? Do you know how big my business would be today? Just me individually by myself with nothing else I did. Yeah. You would build a huge business. You just got to treat people. Don't be too salesy. Work with them. Talk to them. Show them. Talk about the neighborhoods. Talk about your dog. Talk about the boats, the cars, whatever is personalized. Whatever you have in common with that person. You get to know them. They'll like you if you're straight up and honest and good to them. They will come back to you, and you just got to stay in touch. That's it. I'm telling you, that's the way to build this business right now. There's no other way. It's quiet. It's quiet. People that are going to your open house, I'd say out of the 10 people that are going in, I bet you 3 of them are really serious buyers, and those are the ones you got to get.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rob, for today. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks for listening to Everything They Never Told You About Real Estate. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To connect with Carrie or for more information about her coaching program, check out carriesoave.ca or at Carrie Soave and Associates on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.